Hi, this is Ashio and welcome back to Sable's Grimoire. I think we need to try and get a better ending than what we got last time. We're doing Dragon's Route and we became a bit of a slave for Dragon. And it wasn't good. It wasn't good. We need to go back, we need to make better decisions and we're going to push on through. Let's do it. Okay, so I've gone right back, quite a long way, back to our first date with Dragon where we stopped the bank robbery. So Iron, he kind of asks if we want a favour. And before we said we don't need anything, we were trying to be a bit modest, trying to keep out of trouble. But no, I think this time, can you remove the artifact from my wrist? Despite my surprise at the principal's sudden offer, his question merits no thought at all. Without a moment's hesitation, I make my request. Well, since you're offering, how about removing this? I raise my arm, causing the bangle I'm placed on my wrist to move around. Oh yeah, I'd almost forgotten about that. Very well, I suppose your actions today do merit a second chance. Come here. I do as the principal says and move closer to him. I then stretch out my arm, placing the bangle right before Iron's torso. Without delay, Iron places his hand on the magical artifact and slides it off my wrist, as if it were just a normal piece of jewellery, handing it back to me afterwards. At last, without difficulty or fanfare, the artifact has been removed. There you go, how do you feel? Pretty much the same as before. I guess the difference won't become apparent until I try to cast a spell. When you do, be careful not to overdo it. By this point, you've likely gotten used to compensating for your lowered output and the constant drain. Now that your strength has been restored, it will take some time to get used to your regular power once more. Yeah, I see what you mean. I'll be careful for a while and practice exclusively with safer spells like Terminal. Good idea. So, do you want this magical artifact back or, you can keep holding on to it for the time being. I'll tell you if I need it. Until then, consider it yours. Wow, you're giving this to me? Temporarily, yes. Just don't use it on your classmates, okay? I'm lending that to you for research purposes. If you use it on yourself, you can activate and deactivate the artifact at your leisure. It should make for quite the interesting research sample, right? Yes it will. Thank you, sir. Don't mention it. Just consider this a part of your reward. Now then, I suppose that just leaves Dragon. Dragon's pretty easy to please. Some peculiar foods will probably do the trick. That's a bit lacking as far as gifts go, wouldn't you say? I hardly think that food is an equivalent gift to a magical artifact. Well, what do you want me to say? I've got no idea what I should give Dragon. We just spent the entire day roaming around the city, and not once did she buy anything other than food. How about I ask her and get back to you? She might have something in mind. Okay, don't do that. Okay, so now we know what happens next. Iron offers to buy something for her, and it turns out she wants some jewellery. And when she doesn't get the jewellery, she kinda goes out of control, turns into a dragon, bad things happen. So we're going to skip and see what else is new. Also, Dragon's got no friends, and before we asked Hell to become friends, it didn't work out, so let's leave it this time. I shake my head from side to side as I deny my own terrible idea. No, even if Hell is one of the few people who doesn't seem to fear Dragon, that isn't enough for the two of them to become friends. Hell wants nothing more than to charm every attractive person she comes across, whereas Dragon is unfortunately quite naive to the ways of the world. Putting those two together would be interesting, but I sincerely doubt it would end with the two of them becoming friends. Wearing a wry smile on my face, I think about how to respond to Hell's proposal. I mean, thanks for the offer, Hell, but forming a harem isn't exactly at the top of my to-do list. For the time being, I think I'll just stick to making friends instead. Well, suit yourself, but if you change your mind, you know where to find me. Denied her fun, Hell casually walks away without putting up a fight. For all of her talk of romance and harems, I wouldn't be surprised if Hell was simply having fun, or hoping for an amusing reaction from yours truly. Whatever Hell was looking for when she approached me just now, I have no doubt that she didn't find it. No, we told her no. Okay, we go on our second date, but the date doesn't really go to plan. Dragon wants a certain item of jewellery, but it's already sold out and we're not able to do it for her. And upon learning that, she really gets upset, turns into a dragon, runs away. She runs away to home, and her mother shows up. Big, angry dragon mother shows up. And yeah, she needs to see whether we're worthy or not. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to check out this challenge and hopefully we won't get killed. Keep moving forward. Before, we failed. We had a bad ending. We were taken back to the dragon's den, turned into a stone. And yeah, it wasn't good. It wasn't good. But I don't want to stop seeing her. Whatever happens 1,000 years from now isn't my concern. I'm not going to abandon Dragon just because she's going to change at some point in the future. We're not just talking about the distant future here. It could be a matter of months, weeks, or perhaps even days. As my daughter's fascination with you grows, she's going to continue to change right before your eyes. From what I understand about relationships, the same could be said for just about anybody. Well, very well. If that's how you feel, I shall not press this matter any further. Yes, so this is Dragon's mother in human form. If you're certain that this is what you want, then it's time for us to move on to the next trial. That was a trial. Oh, okay, I'm ready. What do you want me to do? My preference would be to peruse your grimoires, but I suppose a human youth, such as yourself, would lack such organisation. Assuming that to be the case, I will test you by having you create a new spell based on my specifications. A spell designed by a dragon? That is not what I said. I would explain what the spell must do, but the design will be up to you. Oh, okay, I guess that's fun too. Okay, did you have something in mind? Not especially. Whenever I think of an interesting concept for a spell, I'll just make it myself. Yeah, so we need to prove ourselves that we're actually a decent mage, and we have said of ourselves that we can make our own spells, so this is going to be our challenge. Now this is a woman who understands me. Okay, I've got one. It's not what I was originally planning, but when I entered this room, you wanted to know how I suddenly appeared before you, correct? Answering that question is the first part of your trial. Wait, what now? I thought my trial was to create a spell, not to reverse engineer one. It was, and now your trial is to do both. In a moment, I will leave this room in the same manner as I entered. As I do so, you are to pay close attention to what I'm doing and figure out how the spell works from sight alone. You will then recreate the spell yourself and present to me your version of the spell. Any questions? More than I can count, but I'll settle with asking just how long I have to do all of this. A time limit? Well, I'll give you 8 hours. How does that sound? 8? To reverse engineer and recreate a teleportation spell? You are a master of spell creation, are you not? 8 hours should be plenty. Ah shit, I knew my gloating was going to come back to haunt me. 8 hours, human. Your time starts now. Ah shit. I hurriedly focused on Nidhogg's figure as she quickly disappears. Before I can adjust my vision so as to observe the ether surrounding Nidhogg, she's already gone. In the end, she's left me with precious little information. All I have to go off is the manner in which she disappeared and... Wait a second. Despite the fact that Nidhogg is already long gone, I adjust my eyesight and observe the ether surrounding the room. For the most part, everything appears to be normal. The stream of ether has not been disrupted, the amount of ether has not changed, its trajectory has not been altered, and yet, even though everything appears to be the same as usual, something's different. That's odd. What is it that I'm sensing here? Is it the quality of the ether, or the purity? No, I mean it is, but there's more to it than that. I walk around the room while paying close attention to the atmosphere around me. As I stand in the spot where Nidhogg had been positioned moments ago, I realise something astounding, yet confusing. Wait a minute, I'm outside. No, that's not it. I know what's going on here. Eager to prove my hypothesis correct, I ran out of the dormitory and into the courtyard. Surely enough, the courtyard is empty, bar a single individual. As I walk up to the familiar figure, a smirk appears on her face, and on mine. Figured it out already? Yeah, seems that way. Pray, tell me what you witnessed. Made confident by the fact that Nidhogg appears at the point of my deduction, I nod once and begin to explain. You didn't just vanish into thin air, leaving nothing behind in your wake. Instead, you swapped places with an equal amount of matter located elsewhere. If you had swapped places with another person or a physical object, that much would be obvious. However, most people can't see ether, so by swapping places with a mass of ether, it appears as though you simply vanished. Furthermore, you took care not to disrupt the ether flow in my room, so as not to tip off anyone who's sensitive to that kind of thing. Even for someone like me who can see ether, it appeared as though everything was as it should be. Finally, you replaced yourself with a quantity of ether which takes up roughly the same amount of space as you do. So, not only was the flow interrupted, it also remained consistent in terms of density and other traits. Wow. So you were able to deduce that much from the brief moment of my disappearance, were you? Perhaps I made the test too easy. No, not at all. It wasn't easy. The moment of your departure baffled me, it really did. I was only able to reach the conclusion that I did by analysing the room after you left. It's not like I gathered all of that the moment you vanished. Also, I was only able to reach my aforementioned conclusion because I already knew the effects of the spell. If I didn't already know what it did, that's enough, you don't need to explain. Even if I decided that the test was indeed too easy, that would be an error in my judgment, not yours. Furthermore, I cannot fault your method of analysis. Gleaning information from the lingering effects of a spell is a perfectly valid tactic for ascertaining a spell's origins and composition. As far as I'm concerned, you've passed the first stage of the trial. I breathe a sigh of relief as Nidhogg confirms my achievement. I thought things were going a little bit too smoothly. Honestly, I figured Nidhogg was going to trick me somehow and purposefully obfuscate the spell beyond recognition. But if I've passed her first test, then perhaps I was worrying about nothing. Not at all. You are absolutely correct to be worried. You are simply worried about the wrong thing. My face freezes as Nidhogg nonchalantly reads my thoughts. Whether she intends to show off or nerve me, or she's simply curious, it's clear that Nidhogg still has many tricks up her sleeve. I would not stoop so low as to obfuscate my own spell, especially after telling you to figure out how it works. Rather, what you ought to be worried about is what comes next. Next? Oh, you mean the hard part, recreating the spell you just witnessed. You have 7 hours and 53 minutes. Come find me when you're done. Once again, Nidhogg vanishes without warning, not even giving me the time to focus on her as she performs the spell I must now recreate. Okay, so we were fairly quick, 7 minutes, but now we've got more things to work out. As the hours pass by, it becomes increasingly evident that Nidhogg was not simply being dramatic. Trying to create a teleportation spell is, as one might expect, a difficult task. Knowing the theory behind Nidhogg's spell is a big help, but it's not enough to ensure success. Understanding roughly how the spell works is completely different than piecing it together and making it work. Damn it, no matter how much time I spend on this, I just can't get past the starting line. I get that Nidhogg swapped places with the massive ether, but I have no idea how she actually makes it happen. How could she control not only the space around herself, but also around her destination? Did she cast 2 spells at once? Was one half of the spell drawn out, rather than being instantaneous? I was only present for one part of the spell. I didn't examine the spell while it was happening. I only witnessed the after effects. I don't know if the teleportation was immediate, or if there's a lag. I don't know if there's an effective range, an ether purity requirement, or any other limitation. I just don't have enough information. Okay, let's look at the ether one more time. It's our only real clue. I close my eyes and take a deep breath. Exhaling through my nose, I slowly open my eyes, attempting to calm my nerves as my deadline rapidly approaches. Single-mindedly poring over the same problem for hours on end isn't getting me anywhere. I need to calm down, focus, and re-examine the clues I've been given one more time. I stand up and walk over to the spot where Nidhogg had appeared earlier. Then I take another deep breath, focus my mind, and adjust my vision once more. Okay, let's take a look. It isn't as thick as before, but the ether from the courtyard is definitely still present. It's also moving more slowly than before, and although the flow of the ether hasn't been disrupted, it's clearly... Wait a minute. My eyes widen once more as I take a closer look at the residual ether from the courtyard. It really is moving more slowly than earlier, much more slowly, and the drop in density is equally severe. Which doesn't make any sense. I only vacated this room for a short amount of time, and since I've gotten back I haven't used any spells apart from Terminal. Under these conditions, there's no way the composition of the ether in this room should have changed so drastically. Unless... I leave my room, still focusing my eyes to the point where I can see ether. As was the case in my dorm room, the ether flowing through the hallway is moving at a much slower speed than anticipated. On closer inspection, the ether flowing through the hallway appears to be moving even more slowly than the ether in my own room. That is, apart from one small, subtle part of the stream, leading out of my room toward the courtyard. I get it. I know how she did it. I know how Nidhogg was able to transport herself through solid material and appear in a blink of an eye. Feeling more excited than I have in months, I run back to my room and open my terminal. Sitting down at my desk, I begin to record my findings without delay. Nidhogg took care not to disrupt the ether flow, but it wasn't so that people like me wouldn't notice. She left the natural flow intact because she was using it. And that massive ether from the courtyard which found its way into my room, it wasn't her intention. The ether which travelled from the courtyard into my room was the result of a backdraft. I hastily record my thoughts, careful not to leave out any details as I mentally run through the entire process. The form of teleportation Nidhogg used wasn't long-range magic at all. All she did was accelerate a small part of the ether stream flowing around her, then ride it to the other end, or until she made the conscious decision to stop. The only question now is, how did she transform her body to the point where she could ride a stream of ether to begin with? With renewed vigour, I start to analyse Nidhogg's spell once more. The pieces of the puzzle are all gradually falling into place, and it's only a matter of time before everything makes sense. Given a little bit more time, I'm confident that I'm going to be able to create a spell similar to that which Nidhogg has shown me. Okay, keep researching, dude, you can make it. Oh, that isn't the way it sounded to me. The way my daughter explained it, it sounded more like you were attempting to coerce her into joining your silly little crusade. Please, Empress, it's not like that. I didn't coerce your daughter into doing anything. She expressed interest in joining of her own accord. I don't believe you. It's true, really. The moment she heard that Sable joined the march, your daughter asked me what it would take for her to join as well. Wow, now that I do believe. Right, so it isn't like I coerced her into anything. Perhaps not, but I bet you did coerce the human boy. Well, I just made him an enticing offer, that's all. That's certainly one way of putting it. Sable, how did you... Empress, what on earth did you teach him? Wow, I didn't teach him anything. This is the result of the lad's own work. I take it this means you discovered the flaws in your earlier hypothesis. I have indeed. I'll summon my terminal and display the formula I've come up with. It is no doubt inferior to Nidhogg's version, but given the strict time limit imposed on me, I'm quite satisfied with the result. Is that the formula for the spell you just used? Yeah, that's right. What do you think, Nidhogg? Do I pass? At a glance, it looks like it will work well enough. Was your entrance just now your first time using the spell? Oh, no, it wasn't. The first few times I tried, I wound up bare naked in random classrooms and hallways. Oh yeah, clothes are indeed the natural bane of the metamorphosis magic. You ought to try manifesting your own body's internal ether reserves as articles of clothing. It requires little effort to maintain, and it makes transforming and teleporting far less troublesome. I'll keep that in mind for next time. So, as for whether it's a pass or not? Good grief. Elf, is this lad always this desperate for validation? Sable is a little bit more motivated by grading than other students are, yeah. You say it like it's a bad thing? It is a bad thing. Grading systems are worthless. My daughter's ranking at this academy is clear proof of that. Your daughter's a bit of a special case. Be that as it may, I will not retract my statement. Nidhogg turns away from the principal and looks toward me once more. Anyway, as far as your imitation is concerned, given your use of the spell, it's clear that your version is at least functional. It's far from what I'd call refined, but considering the time you were given, it will have to do. As far as I'm concerned, you've passed my trial. Wow, I passed? Really? I passed the infamous Nidhogg's trial? Before I can finish speaking, Nidhogg has once again vanished from sight. Oh, thank God. I was beginning to think that she would never leave. I don't know what kind of trial she gave you, Sable, but if you passed, then it can only bode well. If we're lucky, this might be the last time Empress Nidhogg sets foot in Amajonia. Ignoring Ein's optimistic words, I'll focus on the spot where Nidhogg was last standing. Unlike the previous instances when she teleported away, however, this time around there is no out-of-place ether for me to track. Knowing that I could otherwise locate her, Nidhogg has taken care to cover her tracks, making it nigh impossible to figure out where she's gone. Wherever she's disappeared to, Nidhogg clearly does not want to be found. So she left. Oh, okay. With Nidhogg presumably long gone, and Dragon's whereabouts still unknown, I do very little with the few hours I have left in the day. After eating dinner in the cafeteria, I head straight back to my room, at which point I sit down at my desk and open my terminal. I then open the list of topics I've been meaning to research, start performing queries, and dive into the troves of information available. Unfortunately, this favourite pastime of mine doesn't quite do it for me today. No matter what it is that I begin to read about, I simply can't get into it. My mind's elsewhere, occupied by thoughts of Dragon and the unbelievable day I've had. A dragon. A real live, full-blooded dragon. To top it off, the legendary Nidhogg. I keep expecting to wake up and for this entire day to have been just a dream, but that isn't going to happen, is it? Resigning myself to the fact that I won't be able to get any studying done, I stand up from my desk and walk over to the bed. I then lay down on my bed, turn off the light with a rudimentary spell and close my eyes. If Nidhogg comes here, then that means that Dragon must have gone home to see her. In that case, now that Nidhogg has departed, does that mean Dragon's going to come back? I mean, if Dragon would rather stay with her mother, then I'm going to respect her decision. I certainly don't want to drag her back here if she'd rather be elsewhere. But at the very least, I'd like to hear Dragon's decision from her own mouth. If she was good at terminal, you could just send each other messages. Okay, there's some rustling. What's this? What the hell? I roll over as the sound of sheets rustling reaches my ear. As I attempt to do so, something soft yet firm prevents me from moving. Confused, I force my tired eyes to open, but the moment I do so... Oh, she is! My thoughts grind to a halt. Dragon? Oh, yeah, you woke up. Sorry, I was trying not to disturb you. I blink a few times as I try to focus my eyes. Unable to believe what I'm seeing, I continue to stare at Dragon blankly, stunned, not saying a word. At first, I think that I'm dreaming. Dragon couldn't possibly be here, right by my side. But somewhere in the back of my mind, I realise that this is no dream. Dragon is right in front of me, close enough that I could reach out and touch her at any moment. Mama told me all about what happened today. She said that she stormed the academy and that you were the only one brave enough to face her. What's more, you accepted her trial without hesitation and gave it your best effort right until the very end. Even though you're only human, it seems like you managed to impress her. Without any mention of where she's been or what she's been doing, Dragon happily begins to talk about my day instead of her own. While doing so, Dragon starts to shift her body. Given the placement of her wings and tail, it seems like she's having difficulty making herself comfortable on a conventional human bed. Recreating Mama's spell like that was far beyond her expectations, and mine too, to be honest. I knew you were amazing, but not this amazing. Despite our proximity, Dragon continues to crawl closer and closer. With her face now an inch away from mine, I can clearly see her endearing smile, even through the darkness. You know, when Mama proposed that she would test you herself, I was hesitant to agree. I thought she would destroy the entire academy and kill you in the process, but instead everything actually turned out for the best. Dragon takes one of my hands in hers, bringing a faint blush to both of our faces. Even so, this level of intimacy, new to both of us, isn't enough to stop her from chattering nervously. Mama also told me about how she suggested that you abandon me, and how you violently protested the mere thought of doing such a thing. I thought Mama was lying at first, but given how impressed she was with you, I thought maybe she was telling the truth. Dragon looks at my face with pleading eyes, asking me indirectly to confirm or deny her mother's exaggeration. Fortunately for Dragon, I am in an accommodating mood. Before our last date, chances are I would have told her the truth, and strenuously denied her mother's claim. But after losing Dragon once already over something trivial, I am no longer willing to take such a gamble. Yeah, that's right. Your mother was telling the truth. I squeeze Dragon's hand as I look into her eyes sternly. Surprised, Dragon averts her gaze for a moment, and then shyly looks up at my face once more. Really? You really reacted like that? You'd better believe it. Even if the person confronting me is a dragon, there's no way I'd abandon you that easily. Dragon's face is instantly dyed a deeper shade of red. At the same time, her grip strengthens to the point where circulation to my fingers is about to be cut off. Her reaction is greater than I expected. I appreciate the intimacy and all, but I'm going to lose a finger at this rate. Maybe I should have phrased my response a bit differently. While I endure immense pain in one hand, Dragon remains silent. Blushing fiercely, Dragon can no longer look me in the eye, and instead fixes her gaze on my chest. If I was going to move things along, it seems I'll need to take the initiative. You know, Dragon, your mother told me a few things about you as well. Like the fact that your real name is Naziel. The moment I say her real name, Dragon's ears twitch. Still looking down at my chest, her lips slowly begin to move. Mama told you that? Oh boy. Dragon begins to fidget restlessly, not out of discomfort, but seemingly from embarrassment. That's too much, Mama. Giving your approval, and even telling him my name. It's almost like she wants us to. Dragon murmurs to herself, all the while moving her shoulders and thighs back and forth. Confused, I decide to keep the conversation moving. So, Dragon, would you prefer it if I called you Naziel? Just call me Dragon, like you always have. It will be another 1,000 years or so before I'm worthy of the name Naziel. Oh, I see. So she doesn't want to be called that until she's become a full-blooded dragon. It's probably for the best, considering what Nidhogg said about people targeting her. Allowing my thoughts to go astray for only a moment, I return to what I was saying beforehand. Okay then, Dragon, tell me. How did you get here? What? You mean, how did I get into your bed? I mean my dorm room. How did you get past the security measures which the Academy put in place? Oh, that. I got in the same way Mama did. Once I reached the forest surrounding the Academy, I teleported from there into my room, put on my uniform, and teleported here. It's a pretty handy spell. Yeah, I'll say. I can't wait to test it out a bit more myself. I smile wryly as I process Dragon's response. That's impressive. I'm quite aware of how tricky that spell is to figure out. You must be pretty talented to master it like that. I guess you could say that. Without a hint of pride or joy in her voice, Dragon nods solemnly in response to my praise. She then looks up at me with watery eyes, hesitant to continue. Actually, Sable, the truth is, I can do a lot more than I've led you to believe. Teleportation is merely a drop in the ocean. If I wanted to, I could show you far more amazing spells. It's just... Dragon clasps my shirt with her free hand, trembling slightly as she does. I was afraid that if I showed off what I could really do, the other students would fear me even more than they already do. Expressing concerns, which I could only dream of harbouring, Dragon lowers her already hushed voice. While her confession is something I already knew about, it seems the impact Dragon's position has taken on her was more serious than I thought. The fact of the matter is, Dragon has been ostracised from the moment she entered Amadronia. Frightening other students with her actions, not to mention her lineage, Dragon has consistently pushed others away unintentionally. In trying to befriend races which serve as her natural prey, she has frequently set herself up for failure, being knocked down time and time again. It would be no exaggeration to say that in Dragon's time at Amadronia, she has only succeeded in making a single friend. I'm sorry, Sable, I didn't mean for any of this to happen. Dragging you away from your friends, making other students become wary of you because of our association, and then there's the way I reacted on that day. That day, clenching both my hand and my shirt more tightly, Dragon pulls herself closer to my body. With tears welling up in her eyes and her throat quivering, Dragon forces herself to speak. I really screwed up, didn't I? We were having such a wonderful time, having so much fun together, and I ruined everything. Dragon speaks in a faint voice, no louder than a whisper. It sounds like she's about to start crying at any second, stopped only by her need to express remorse. You gave me something so precious, and I threw it away. The time we spent together, my image as a human girl, the ring you spent your savings to buy. I was so ungrateful and angry and... Dragon's speech hastens as her emotions begin to take over. Before Dragon can go frantic, I squeeze her hand and appeal to her. It's okay, I understand. It's your nature as a dragon, you can't help it. That's no excuse. Look around, Sable. Look at all the demi-humans attending Amadronia. How many of them have you ever seen lose control of their inhuman side and run amok? They're all fighting their instincts and suppressing their urges on a daily basis, trying their best to fit in. Have any of them ever come close to losing control of themselves in the middle of a human city like I did? And for what reason did I lash out like that anyway? The death of a loved one, bearing witness to some great injustice, to stop some unspeakable evil? No, it was over a stupid hunk of metal. I outed myself, destroyed the human clothes I pined over, ruined our date, and even threw away the precious gift you gave me, all because of my own selfishness. It's like everything that could go wrong did go wrong, and I have only myself to blame. Dragon fights back tears as her regrets continue to come to the surface. During her absence, it seems that Dragon has been reflecting on her actions earnestly, mulling them over until she finally reached her breaking point. And now that she's finished reflecting on her actions, Dragon has returned to Amadronia at last, resulting in this very encounter. Sable, I know I'm probably just causing you even more trouble by coming here, but after what Mama said about you not wanting to abandon me, I thought that maybe you would forgive me. Once again, clinging to her mother's words, Dragon pleads for confirmation as she finally starts to calm down. Smiling wryly, I close my eyes and let out a deep sigh. How ridiculous. You came all this way just to ask me that? Is that a no? Contrary to her playful expression, I can hear signs of anxiety in Dragon's voice. The worries she confessed to harbouring earlier were not for show, nor were they an exaggeration. Even now, with her face an inch away from mine, Dragon is frightened by the thought of being turned away. Rather than answer Dragon's question directly, I crawl out of the bed through the gap at the end of the frame. I then rummage through my belongings for a moment and pull out Dragon's date clothes, mended by Jolu's expert hands, as well as the ring Dragon cast aside in a moment of anger. Sable, these are... That's right, all fixed up, good as new. I got a lot of strange looks, carrying around torn women's clothes for the day. But these are important to you, so it's not like I could have just left them behind. I don't believe it. I thought that, after what happened, they'd be gone forever. They're just clothes, Dragon. They can be repaired. That's not what I meant. With tears still threatening to stream down her face, Dragon slowly shakes her head from side to side. Why would you do something like this for me? Considering what I did and what I put you through, I thought for sure that you would hate me. Well, I'm not gonna lie, you have caused me a lot of grief, but that doesn't mean I hate you. Taking in my hand the ring Dragon once refused, I present it to her once again on top of my open palm. You're different, Dragon. You're completely unlike anyone else I've ever met. And you know what? I think that's probably what made me start to become interested in you in the first place. Dragon, half-dragon, human, it doesn't matter to me what form you take, and I'm not going to turn you away for being true to your other half. I like you just the way you are. Sable, you really... Her throat and voice trembling, Dragon barely manages to squeeze out a few words in response. Swallowing hard, Dragon slows her breathing as she tries to calm down. Sable, I don't know what to say. How am I supposed to respond to something like this? Shifting her gaze back and forth between the ring and my face, Dragon hesitates. Her thoughts are scattered, and she still hasn't made up her mind about what to do next. I don't know how to deal with any of this. If I were born a full-blooded dragon, everything would be so clear to me. I wouldn't harbour all of these useless feelings of guilt and anxiety. And yet, I don't want to be like Mama either. Dragon lifts her gaze and stares directly into my eyes. Determined, Dragon raises her hand, reaching out toward the ring sitting on top of my palm. Cold-hearted, shut off from the world, unable to care about anybody else. I can't even imagine trying to live that way. Not anymore. The moment her fingertips clasp the ring in my hand, Dragon disappears from my sight in a familiar manner. Clad in the same spell as her mother, Dragon vanishes, presumably to her own dorm room, taking with her the ring and clothing she thought she'd lost forever. Rather than focus on the ether left in her wake, I'll simply lay down on my bed and breathe a deep sigh. Even if she's no longer laying down beside me, the fact of the matter is, Dragon is back. At last, Dragon has returned to Amadronia. And that was ending 13 of 16. Wow, hopefully that was a good ending. Forcing myself to get out of bed at an unreasonably early hour, I waste no time before heading to the cafeteria. Unlike the other early risers, however, I have no interest in feasting or being proactive about starting my day in a worthwhile fashion. There's only one thing motivating me on this glorious morning. It isn't something I could be sure of, and my recollection of the exact time is a bit sketchy, but nonetheless, I feel it's worth pursuing. And surely enough, the moment I arrive in the cafeteria, my gamble pays off in full. Sable, you came! It's about time you started getting up earlier. I was getting sick of eating breakfast alone. Dragon, the half-dragon girl who begins eating the moment the cafeteria is open for business. I usually sleep in past the breakfast time, much to Dragon's disappointment, but today that's not the case. For once, I'm going to enjoy a meal alone with Dragon, just the three of us. Wait a minute, three of us? The lad has a tendency to sleep in, does he? I can relate to that. I often hibernate for a few years longer than intended. That's because you're always so active when you're awake. Once you finally go to sleep, your body needs a good rest. Perhaps you're right. I'm not as young as I used to be after all. Given another few dozen millenniums, I might turn into one of those lethargic geezers who complains every time a self-proclaimed hero disturbs their slumber. Well, don't worry, Mama. I'm sure it's not going to happen. By that point, your cave is going to be so full of human skeletons that no wannabe hero will dare approach you. Wow, indeed. You always know how to make me feel better, Naziel. Yeah, Mama, what did I tell you about that? As long as we're on Academy grounds, please call me Dragon. But it's a stupid name. I don't care. Papa came up with me, and I like it. I almost forgot to breathe as I watch an unbelievable scene unfold before my very eyes. Two dragons, one of whom is famous to the point of being considered a legend, are sitting around a table in the Academy cafeteria. They are happily chatting about topics far beyond a mere human being's wildest imagination, all the while acting as though nothing is amiss. Nidhogg, the infamous beast known for gnawing on the roots of Yggdrasil, the World Tree, and chewing on the corpses of heinous criminals. This creature of legend is currently sitting right in front of me, indulging in a nonsensical conversation with her daughter as they both assume human form. It's almost enough to make me doubt my own sanity. Nidhogg, forgive me for asking such a rude question, but what are you doing? Nidhogg turns her gaze toward me, effortlessly piercing my body with nothing but a glare. A shiver runs down my spine as my eyes meet hers, and just for a moment, I fear that I'm about to be killed. That's a foolish question. Clearly, I'm here to speak to my daughter, and to sample the pitiable morsels that are being passed off as food in this establishment. No, that's not what I meant, Empress Nidhogg. Oh, don't call me that. I am no empress, and hearing you call me that brings to mind a mental image of that foolish elf who runs the academy. Mama hates being given weird titles like Empress and World Eater. It was amusing at first, but I have long since grown tired of collecting such meaningless titles. Besides, there is no need for such formalities between us. You may address me as you would if you were speaking to anybody else. You don't mind? Why would I? We're practically family, but at this point anyway. Oh, good to hear. Wait a minute, we're family. Aren't we? As I recall, you proposed to my daughter. A man gifting a ring to a woman has for centuries been a human ritual, alluding to the prospect of marriage. Do you mean to tell me that that custom has died out? No, it hasn't died out. It's still the standard. Then I have misunderstood nothing. You are to wed my daughter, and together you shall raise countless children. End of discussion. But, okay, do dragons even practice the ceremony of marriage? Dragon, don't you have anything to say about this? Your mother's talking about the two of us getting married and raising children. You're not going to just play along, are you? Well, to be honest, yeah. I think we should start off with only 1 or 2 children, just until we get used to parenting. Worry not. If you find yourselves getting in over your heads, I shall guide you, as necessity dictates. That doesn't reassure me. I can't believe this. Is Dragon really okay with her mother deciding things like this for her? We're talking about a girl who's terrified of being seen naked and embarrassed to death by the notion of having a human ride on her back. Is raising children really something she can easily agree to? Hanging my head in defeat, I decide to drop the topic. This is a matter for Dragon and I to discuss once her mother has gone back home and can no longer exert such control over us so easily. Setting that aside for the moment. Nidhogg? Call me Mother. Mother then. Mother, how long are you going to be staying here at Amadronia? I shan't be staying. Oh, thank God. Instead, I'll be returning to my cave and teleporting back here as I deem necessary. Then, you're not really leaving at all, are you? Did I say that I would be leaving? I stare at Nidhogg, Mother, in amazement as she twists her own words at her convenience. She may not technically be staying here, but at the same time, I can't really say that she's left Amadronia either. For better or worse, it seems Nidhogg has decided to keep a close eye on her daughter and son-in-law from now on. Oh, forget it. It's not what I wanted to know anyway. The question I'm trying to ask is why you've decided to come back. Isn't it obvious? I've come to oversee the proliferation of my species. Seriously, she's staying here to make sure Dragon and I really do have children? No, that was a joke. I thought a member of a species as whimsical and nonsensical as yours would appreciate the humour. I don't even know how to respond to that. Truthfully, it doesn't matter to me when the two of you decide to begin the process of procreation. A day, a year, a decade, as long as it happens, the timing's irrelevant. The true reason for my presence here is one of far greater urgency. Something urgent? What is it? Are we in danger? Have bad people found out the dragon's here? Don't be daft, lad. With my daughter and I side by side, how could she possibly be in danger? Yeah, you've got a point. Then, what's this urgent matter? Nidhogg narrows her gaze as she stares at me. I gulp on reflex, preparing myself for news so shocking that even a dragon would reel upon hearing it. Nidhogg takes a deep breath, opens her mouth, and finally, that is, to learn more about my son-in-law. What? That's it? That's it? Lad, do you not understand the importance of what I'm saying? My daughter has chosen you. She has made you her property and pledged to bear your children. As her mother, it's my duty to ensure that this decision of hers is not a mistake. Shot by the irrational words spewing forth from Nidhogg's mouth, it takes me a few moments to gather my wits and respond appropriately. Wait a minute, you're really here to make sure Dragon and I have children after all? Is that a problem? Of course it's a problem. This is all way too soon. We aren't going to be doing anything like that. Well, not if you don't pass my trials, you're not. There are more trials. Well, you humans are so easy to rile up. I do think I'm going to enjoy being a so-called mother-in-law. Oh God, just kill me already. Mama, that's enough. Let Sable eat in peace. Oh yes, I suppose you're right. The lad's going to need his energy if he's going to do his part to increase our numbers. Carry on. I'll return when I feel like it. Nidhogg vanishes into thin air as her daughter waves goodbye. Having sent her mother on her way, Dragon then sits beside me, bringing her face closer to mine. Hey, about what Mama said? Which part, the trolls, the kids, or her future visits? The middle one. You know, Mama doesn't really care if it takes time. Decades fly by like specks of dust for her. So I don't want you to feel pressured or anything, but I also don't want you to rule it out. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, I think I do. Even if we don't have any such intention right now, that might not be the case when we're older, so I should try to keep an open mind and not reject what she's saying, right? There, that's it, exactly. Well, I can't disagree with that. Even if I'm not interested in anything like this right now, I'm still only young. Given another 20 years, I might really be interested in raising children. So, let's put all of that on hold for now, okay? We'll put your mother's desires in the back of our minds and do as we see fit. I couldn't put it better myself. Sweet. No sooner has she sat down next to me than Dragon stands up once more. She then turns around, faces the direction of the dorm, and steps away from the table. Dragon, where are you going? Aren't you gonna at least finish eating? I'm still a bit hungry, but no, you can have the rest of it. I'm gonna go get ready for class. I'll catch up with you after you've eaten breakfast, okay? Okay, sounds good. See you soon. You got no idea. No idea about what? Hey, Dragon. Worried by her parting remark, my concerns fall on deaf ears as Dragon makes her escape. Oblivious to Dragon's machinations, I breathe a deep sigh and then pull Dragon's plate closer. I then pick up my fork, scoop up what remains for breakfast and... Wait a minute, is this Dragon's breakfast or Nidhogg's? And the fork? Whose cutlery is this? Did I just... Dragon harem. My mind goes to a strange place as I contemplate the ramifications of my actions. Even if this fork and plate are both dragons, the fact remains that I've once again shared an indirect kiss with a dragon. Without realising it, I've become the kind of idiotic boyfriend who happily finishes his girlfriend's meals. Wow, what am I getting so worked up about? Just a minute ago, I was having a serious conversation about breeding. Now I'm worried about sharing saliva. It's definitely going to be a long time before I'm ready to have kids. Okay. After a quick yet surprisingly stressful breakfast, I returned to my dorm room to study before class. Given how early I headed downstairs in order to meet with Dragon, there's still a fair amount of time to go before class, and there's no way I'm going to be waiting around inside of the classroom the whole time. Instead, my plan is to spend my remaining time researching things I actually find interesting, then head to class right on time and think about what I've just read. Welcome back, roomie. Or at least, that was the plan. Again. You do have your own dorm room, you know. Uh-huh. And I'm in it right now. What? Wait a second. You just called me roomie? Did you really mean... Yeah, Mama already cleared it up with the elf and everything. Since your old roommate ran away and we're engaged, the elf agreed that it would be appropriate for the two of us to share a room. That damn elf, he's done it again. Can't he stand up to Nidhogg just once in his lifetime? Shocked by Dragon's presence, I hurriedly closed the door behind me and entered the room. We're roommates? Really? But you're a girl, and I'm a guy. Should we really be sharing a room? Your last roommate was female too. Why is that different? Tix was just a tiny little nudist who could bathe in the sink and get changed inside of a backpack. What are you going to do when it's time to change clothes? You've been deathly afraid of being seen by me until now, right? Yeah, but... But what? I'm going to have to get used to it eventually, right? So maybe I can treat this like part of my training. Flabbergasted, I shake my head in disbelief. This is weird. Are you really okay with this? If you'd rather keep your old room, I'm not going to think any less of you. No, I'll stay here. I want to stay here. The two of us, spending all our time together, spending our nights and our mornings together. That's what I want. Faced with Dragon's heartfelt plea, I feel my willpower slowly being drained from my body. While I do enjoy Dragon's company, I'm still hesitant to share a room with her. She wakes up much earlier than I do, has a tendency to set things on fire, and she's bound to knock a few things over in the room of this size with those wings and tail of hers. But even so... Okay, if you're sure that this is what you want, I'm not going to fight you on it. But if things don't turn out the way you'd hoped, remember that you can always go back, okay? I won't be offended if you decide to... Oh, Sable. Hey, Dragon, what are you doing? Before I can steady myself, Dragon pulls me forward and falls back onto my bed. Using her tail for support, she then props her body up, drawing me in close with her powerful arms and legs as she cradles my body with hers. Dragon, this is, yeah, now that we have our own room, we can finally be close like this. There's nobody around to stare at us, or to say mean things, or try to put us apart. We can cuddle as much as we want. Cuddle? But I thought you didn't like this kind of contact. What are you talking about? I wouldn't do this in front of other people, but once we're alone, it's a different story. You're my boyfriend, my property, my future husband. Isn't it okay for us to do this much? I mean, I guess so, but... Great. Dragon squeezes me even tighter, causing a strange sound to leak out of my mouth. Without a hint of her usual embarrassment and reservation, Dragon brings my head to her bosom, hugging my face to her chest. Yes, Sable and I, living in the same room. It's like a dream come true. I'm going to cuddle you like this every single day, every time I feel sad or lonely or anxious. I'm going to hug my worries away and shower you with all of my love. I'm sure of whether Dragon is treating me more like a boyfriend or her possession, I sigh once more and give up on fighting back. Exhaling slowly, I close my eyes, rest my head against Dragon's chest, and resign myself to this new life of mine. Yeah, you go ahead and do that, Dragon. Whenever you need someone to confide in or to keep you company, I'll be right here. Just don't squeeze me too tightly, okay? I'm not as tough as you. Yeah, I got it. Dragon loosens her grip slightly and leans forward and rests her head against mine. Don't ever stop telling me when I've messed up, Sable. Whether it's something small like hugging you too hard or something big as having children. I don't want you to ever grow to fear me or to think that you can't be honest with me. I lived my whole life being feared by others and being told exactly what I want to hear so that I'll show mercy to them. Our relationship can't end up like that, Sable. I won't become like my mother, who only knows how to rule over others and control them through fear and intimidation. I want you to promise me that you won't stand by silently and watch me become like her. I gently turn my head from side to side, careful not to break Dragon's grip. You don't have to worry about that. While there are many things I can't promise about the future, there's one thing I can say with certainty. You will never wind up like her. Because you'll stop me. Once again, I'll shake my head. Because you'll stop yourself. You don't need me to stop you, Dragon. You're a strong, capable person in your own right. Even if I'm not by your side... Dragon squeezes me once more, then brings her lips to my ear. That's enough. I don't want to hear you talking about some time in the future when we're not together. For now, just let me have this. Dragon, a half-dragon, a being who will likely live for many millennia to come. Me, a human being, one who will likely live for a single century at most. It goes without saying that even if we decide to spend the entirety of my life together, there will one day come a time when we will be separated. I don't need to remind Dragon of the fact. So, until then... Okay, I'll definitely stop you, Dragon. Whenever you show signs of losing out to your dragon half, I'll do everything in my power to bring you back to your senses. Whether it's today, tomorrow, or 100 years from now, you can count on me. Thanks, Sable. I'm going to cherish those words and remember them always. Even though we both know that my words are a lie, Dragon and I take solace in them nonetheless. 100 years from now, I'm going to die. Another 1,000 or so years later, Dragon will shed the last of her human blood and become a full-fledged dragon. No matter what we say or do now, those are inescapable facts. No amount of heartfelt pleading, no number of irresponsible promises is ever going to change that. And yet for now, that's enough. Whether we spend the next 100 years in each other's arms, or we decide to part ways tomorrow, the time we spent together will not be erased. Until that time inevitably comes, all we can do now is relax, enjoy one another's company, and see what tomorrow will bring. That is a cute, happy ending. And we made it to the end. We got through Dragon's Root, and that was Sable's Grimoire. I hope you enjoyed it. This is Usho signing off, and hopefully I'll see you next time.